that's about what Perrytown got over there. Some of the places, the road was wet between here and there.
Them spots got 20 drops.
They've got 20 drops. They connected the dots. got a limit on that teen class now. They got a limit on that teen class. Who can go in there? You got to be like below 20, I think. That's why they call it a teen class. Good evening. I'm so glad that you're here. Otherwise, it'd get really boring really quick. One day, buddy, one day. That is my prayer. I love this time of year, not because of the sweltering heat and the almost drowning sensation you get just from breathing humidity, but people's tomatoes are coming off right now. Elliot brought me some tomatoes Sunday. Now, I just want to brag on my culinary skills for just a moment. Sunday night, I made the classic Mater sandwich. Some thick sliced tomato and Duke's mayonnaise. Notice I specified Duke's. It's my favorite right now. Duke's mayonnaise is really good. Monday, I got fancy with it and added a couple slices of smoked turkey. Today, smoked turkey, 2 kinds of cheese, toasted it in the oven, and then piled them tomatoes on there. It's still just a tomato sandwich. It's just dressed. It's dressed up. And everybody out there is going, I've been eating really good since everybody's tomatoes started coming off. I'm thankful for them. All right. Now, we'll turn our attention to 2 Samuel. Taken Jerusalem. They've made it up the water shaft and overtook it. He's king. He's moved the capital to Jerusalem. He's taken extra wives. He's establishing his kingdom, so to speak. But there's something he needs to do. This chapter, David wants to bring the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem. So let's start the text. It is a few verses. I don't think we'll have any problems covering it all. I had to fast forward some at Perrytown, but I think we'll be just fine. Starting in verse 1, David again gathered all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000. David arose and went with all the people who were with him from Baaleh, Judah, to bring up from there the ark of God, which is called by the name of the Lord of hosts, who sits enthroned on the cherubim. They carried the ark of God on a new cart and brought it out of the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill. And Uzzah and Ahio, the sons of Abinadab, were driving the new cart with the ark of God, and Ahio went before the ark. All right, guys, you're going to have to speak. Those 4 verses, did you hear anything, see anything in the text that made you go, that's not right? Anything stand out to you? Because there was something. All right, that is exactly right. Is there anything else? Is it okay to carry it on the cart? Let's, got to be carried on them poles and staves. All right, so let's first address a little word difference here. 1 Samuel chapter 6, we covered this already. Verse 21 there, they sent messengers to the inhabitants of Kiriath Jearim, saying, the Philistines have returned the ark of the Lord. Come down and take it up to you. And so you know the backstory. The Philistines beat Israel in battle. They took the Ark of the Covenant back with them. They took it back to Ashdod, I believe, put it in the temple of Dagon, and when they did, the Lord broke loose on them. They knocked down the idol of Dagon, broke his hands and his head off. The people started developing tumors. They were trying to shuffle it out of there, take it to another Philistine town. We don't want it. They're causing problems. And so what they do is they make this new cart. They put the ark on it, hook it up to a heifer. Never pulled a cart before and slapped it on the rear end. And their idea was, if it takes it away from us, we're going to let it go. If it brings it back, we'll figure out what to do with it, sort of deal. And she took it off to Beth Shemesh. The folks at Beth Shemesh, well, they didn't want it either. So he called the men at Kiriath Jearim. Y'all come get it, take it up to you. What I want to point out is Kiriath Jearim is the same city as, what was it? Baaleh, Judah. There on the very first slide, back at 6:1-4. Same town. This city has around 11 or 12 different names. We know it by that many different names. Same city, it's been conquered, it's been overtaken, it's been retaken, it's been named and renamed, and it is the exact same village. So don't get too worked up about seeing the two different names. It is the same place. So that's where it is. David's going after it. So chapter 7:2 in 1 Samuel, the day the ark was lodged at Kiriath Jearim, long time past, some 20 years. So the ark's been there a minute now, right? It's been there sitting at Kiriath Jearim for 20 years. David is going to go fetch it. It's on a cart. He's got those 3 guys to usher it back, along with 30,000 chosen men of Israel. So this is a big processional. This is one of the biggest parades perhaps ever, right? Okay, back to what Ralph was saying. Is that exactly right? You may have noticed that when I'm working through 1st and 2nd Samuel, I have not been bouncing over to 1st and 2nd Chronicles, because I want to stay within the context of our author here for the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel. So I bounced over there for this, just because we needed to back up and catch this little bit of information. The Levites carried the ark of God on their shoulders with the poles, as Moses had commanded according to the word. This is the proper way to carry the ark and all the furniture that was within the tabernacle of God. The tabernacle was that tent that was designed by God, the instructions given to Moses at Sinai before the children of Israel ever made it to Israel. And that was, the Ark of the Covenant with the mercy seat on top was going to be the dwelling place of God's Spirit in the Holy of Holies inside the tabernacle. And so there's a specific way that this ark was to be transported, with poles through the rings, not on a wagon, only to be carried by Levites. Okay, back to 2 Samuel. David and all the house of Israel were celebrating before the Lord with songs and lyres and harps and tambourines, castanets, cymbals. And when they came to the threshing floor of Nacon, Uzzah put out his hand to the ark of God and took a hold of it. The oxen stumbled. All right, so this is a celebration. We already know there's 30,000 men. We got the ark on the wagon. You can kind of get the mental image of what's happening here. We got every musical instrument they can get their hands on and towed. If somebody had spoons, they was probably playing the spoons as they went too. This is a big, big deal, right? Celebrating is great. We're bringing the ark of God. We're bringing God's presence back to his people at the capital of the king, right? We're taking it to Jerusalem. This is huge. We're establishing something here in David's kingdom, something Saul never tried to do, right? The oxen stumbled. The anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah. God struck him down there because of his error, and he died there beside the ark of God. All right, so processional's going along. Oxen stumble, wagon gets uneasy. Uzzah, steady as it. Boom. Anger of the Lord, he's struck down, he's dead. There beside the cart. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about poor old Uzzah? It's pretty harsh, isn't it? Reflex, right? It's probably wasn't even thinking. He just, whoop, stop it. Keep it from falling. Kind of like when you're knocking something off the side of your dinner table, a fork's falling, and you don't think about it, you just try to catch it. There he is. There's some things about the nature of God And I believe very much purposeful things that we are taught in the Old Testament, especially concerning his immediate presence, the instructions for the tabernacle, the Holy of Holies, and the furniture that is within the tabernacle and the Holy of Holies. Think about the priestly garb. All this was designed, spoken by God to Moses at the same time. The high priest is going to go into the Holy of Holies once a year. That's where this Ark of the Covenant sits, in that Holy of Holies. The priest goes in there once a year, and he's got to sanctify himself. He's got to be consecrated. There's going to be bulls sacrificed, rams sacrificed. Blood's going to be shed, and it's going to be on a hyssop branch, and they're going to sprinkle. They're going to follow the letter of the law. And the priest is going to be wearing everything. He's got on the robe. He's got on the ephod. He's got on his headdress. And on that headdress there is I can't remember what the little piece of metal's called. It's the base of the headdress. It wraps around it. And I really don't want to call it a tiara, because that's not what the text calls it. But it is a little metal plate that came across in front of it. And on that metal plate, God told Moses to write on this plate, to engrave upon it, holy before the Lord, as a reminder for God to not lash out and kill that high priest when he came into the Holy of Holies. And so the first point that, in fact, a lady over at Perrytown brought it up, why does God need to be reminded of anything? And my first answer is, well, he doesn't. It's not for his benefit. There's something very powerful about the way God demonstrates how he is to be approached. Now we can step back and look at the big picture, and we say mankind's relationship with God was perfect in the garden. Before sin came in, Adam and Eve lived with God in harmony, with creation in harmony. Everything is great, but when sin came into the picture, when the plague of sin came into the picture, the humankind became corrupt, creation became corrupt, and here we have God establishing for himself a 20 by 20 by 20 cubit cube that his presence is going to dwell in, and everything is overlaid in gold. Everything is consecrated, purified before God, before his presence comes into it. It's a demonstration of God's holy otherness. And you don't approach God just however you decide to approach God. God dictates the terms of how you approach him. And I think that's very telling to how we understand God in the New Testament in Christ. Christ even says it of himself. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. And that's how we come to understand our sanctification, our consecration, is that we come through Christ, that he purifies us, and he enables us to stand before a holy God and live, to regain relationship with. Anyway, Uzzah, bless his heart, he's in the wrong place at the wrong time. Right? Reaches out, steadies the ark, is struck down by the power of God, and he died. And there are, that affects the situation. Right? Here's a passage from Numbers. This is from the law, some instructions that God is giving Moses. When Aaron and his sons have finished covering the sanctuary, all the furnishings of the sanctuary, as the camp sets out, after that the sons of Kohath shall come to carry these, but they must not touch the holy things, lest they die. These are the things of the tent of meeting that the sons of Kohath are to carry. And so you have a specific family within the Levites. You have carrying it with the poles, not touching the ark, and you certainly do not touch the ark. So this will serve as a reminder. And I would go so far as to say, I'm not sure, as reverent as David is, and as much as he glorifies God, as much as he does, as he relies on God, asking for battle strategies. Do I go up face the Philistines? Do I not? This. I'm not sure that David is aware of the details of the law, not the priestly details. I would go on a limb and say that he probably did not know. He just didn't know. But with God, ignorance is no excuse. So, Uzzah is dead on the ground in verse 8. David was angry because the Lord had broken out against Uzzah. And that place is called Perez Uzzah to this day. And David was afraid of the Lord that day. He said, how can the ark of the Lord come to me? You see the situation, right? We can't move this thing. I can't bring it to Jerusalem because God's not going to let me. I can't get it there. So David was not willing to take the ark of the Lord into the city of David. David took it aside to the house of Obed-Edom, the Gittite. And the ark of the Lord remained in the house of Obed-Edom, the Gittite, 3 months. And the Lord blessed Obed-Edom and all his household. That was a scenario David probably wasn't expecting, right? Uzzah, bless his heart, reached out and touched the ark and was killed. But the ark dwelling in Obed's house, and he's being blessed. Well, that's a significant turn of events. It was told King David, the Lord has blessed the household of Obed-Edom and all that belongs to him because of the ark of God. And so David went and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with rejoicing. Now here's a few of the details of that bringing up. Verse 13, those who bore the ark of the Lord had gone 6 steps. He sacrificed an ox and a fatted animal. And David danced before the Lord with all his might. And David was wearing a linen ephod. And so David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting with the sound of the horn. It doesn't say it, but it does mention that those who bore the ark of the Lord had gone 6 steps. Makes it sound as if David has gotten this right. It's no longer on the cart. It's being carried, and that was our passage from Chronicles that I read. And so they changed their approach. They made 6 steps, and David sacrificed an ox and a fatted animal. There's actually some testament to this, not of David making the sacrifice, but of kings, the Hittites, transporting one of their idols, doing something very similar. Every 10 steps they would stop, make a sacrifice. 10 more steps, stop, make a sacrifice to appease their deity, right? What David is doing here is doing his best to sanctify this processional, right? To get the ark into the city of David without incurring any more damage, right? The verse 15, so David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting, with the sound of the horn. David, verse 14, is dancing, right? He's wearing a linen ephod. All right, so what we know about ephod in our language is a priestly vest. All right, it has symbols for all 12 tribes on the vest. The priests wear it. It has a pouch on it that contains the Urim and the Thummim for consulting God, asking questions. Question is asked, why is David wearing this? He's not high priest. Well, all the priests, there was a certain ephod that they wore. And there are examples of the ephod being worn in a celebratory case, like as such. So what we see here is this great celebration by David bringing in this ark, and he's wearing what would appear to be some priestly clothing, right? Which isn't all that big of a deal except for what happens next. As the ark of the Lord came to the city of David, Michal, the daughter of Saul, looked out of the window and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him in her heart. They brought in the ark of the Lord and set it in its place inside the tent that David had pitched for it, and David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. Why does Michal hate David? You have to think back a couple chapters. You remember the circumstances of her being returned to King David? Because they had been apart. Saul had taken her back away from David and gave her to another. Remember? She had been married. Whenever Ishbosheth was still alive, and part of David's bargain, he wanted her back. And Ishbosheth had her removed from her husband who followed her back, weeping and such. She is not happy with David, right? The circumstances of this part of their marriage is not ideal by any means, is it? It's not great. And she sees him leaping and dancing, and she despises him in her heart. There's probably a whole lot going on in her mind, but right now, this thing that he is doing is not great, right? Verse 18, when David had finished offering the burnt offerings and the peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord of hosts. He distributed among all the people, the whole multitude of Israel, both men and women, a cake of bread, a portion of meat, and a cake of raisins to each one. And all the people departed, each to his house. Great big celebration, great big consecration, bringing the ark back. This is a big deal, and this is a massive amount of food, right, that David is giving out. He's tying the two together. He wants all the people of Israel to know how great this occasion is, bringing the ark to the city of David. And so sending them out with a portion of meat, a cake of raisins, and a cake of bread, that's significant. You know, I've never seen it, but I've heard Oprah Winfrey likes to give people stuff on the bottom of their chair or something. Look under your chair. Well, this is far greater than that. This is a great prize for the people, a great gift. And so it's a fantastic thing. Well, David returned to bless his household. But Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David and said, "How the king of Israel honored himself today." I was trying to say that so you could hear the dripping sarcasm in her voice. How the king of Israel honored himself today, uncovering himself today before the eyes of his servants, female servants, as one of the vulgar fellows shamelessly uncovers himself. David said to Michal, "It was before the Lord who chose me above your father and above all his house to appoint me as prince over Israel, the people of the Lord, and I will celebrate before the Lord. I will make myself yet more contemptible than this, and I will be abased in your eyes. But by the female servants of whom you've spoken, by them I shall be held in honor." And Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no child to the day of her death. All right, I'm going to back up 1, 2 slides. Here we are. All right, so the text earlier said that David was wearing a linen ephod. He's leaping and dancing. And here comes her accusation. 1, the sarcasm. And then the accusation, uncovering himself today before the eyes of his servants, female servants, as one of the vulgar fellows shamelessly uncovers himself. Somebody tell me what's going on right here. What's happening? What's she accusing him of? Kind of what it sounds like, right? Sound like she's accusing him of dancing around about half naked. Kind of what it sounds like. I guess I've probably heard that at least half of the Bible classes I've been in when this text would come up, that David was dancing and was exposing himself as he danced to the people around, that sort of thing. Let's start at the first part of the text here, though, the first part of the accusation. How the king of Israel honored himself today. She is Saul's daughter. There is a certain expectation for royal behavior, right? Ways of acting, regal, dignified, whatever language you want to use. There are certain behaviors that kings do not participate in. Leaping, dancing, bouncing around as such is not one of them. They did have, I'm not sure what they called them, not jesters, but they did have performers. This was a thing. You think about all the psalms that David wrote. Music, performances, things like that was a thing. And David is participating in a way that she deems a king should not. That is behavior unbecoming someone in David's position. Status as king. You don't act like that. You don't talk like that. You don't dance and bounce around like that. The text over in Chronicles doesn't seem to give us this indication of David flashing the crowds as he's dancing or anything like that. It's not a huge stretch, but it's also not necessary to the text. It can just be it could be her accusation against David of just behavior unbecoming his position, right? David's response is somewhat telling as well. One, first puts her in her place. It says, before the Lord who chose me above your father and all his household, which includes her, right, as his daughter, to appoint me as prince over. This is God's choice. I'm king because God chose me over your family, right? And the people of the Lord and I will celebrate before the Lord. You could look at it as an act of humiliation, where David is abasing himself. He's going to not be that prototypical king. He's going to celebrate God, set an example for the people. Maybe that's on his mind. Verse 22, I will make myself yet more contemptible than this, and I will be abased in your eyes. It's like David has got more plans to celebrate God, to act in ways that she's going to deem unfitting for a king. And his response about the accusation about female servants, but by the female servants of whom you've spoken, by them I shall be held in honor. And so David doesn't see a problem with his behavior, whatever it was, whether it's just the dancing and leaping or whether he was flashing the crowds. It's not going to affect the way the people see or perceive him. He will still be held in honor at its rightful place as king. And so what we see in verse 23 is a relationship that never got sorted out. Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no child to the day of her death. She and David never made up. Right? That's the cause and effect right here. All right, so here in chapter 6, we have David bringing in the ark. He's got Jerusalem now, the most heavily fortified city in the land. That's his. He's going to bring the ark of God, the place of God's presence on the mercy seat. He's bringing that into the city of David. He is well on his way to establishing Jerusalem as the place of commerce, the place of rule or military rule, and the place of worship. He's consolidating everything here at Jerusalem and has been blessed by it. Now, through ignorance, Uzzah was struck down. But that is going to do nothing but refine David's understanding of God, and the priest as well. All right, any thoughts, any questions about chapter 6 here? Pretty interesting chapter though, right? Oh, come on, nothing. We don't have anything. Questions about tomato sandwich recipes, anything like that? All right. All right, we'll jump into chapter 7 next week. Next week.